So that's very, very important. So it's the professional profile of record in a digital age. Second is networks. So it's all about connecting all of the world's professionals. Now I mentioned there's 347 million professionals globally. That's and growing at a rate of 2 new members per second. So it's connecting all the world's professionals. Again, I wanted to really emphasize that. So LinkedIn is truly global. LinkedIn as a networking site was founded in 2003. So what are we now? 12 years old. And we've seen the rate of engagement increase rapidly since then. Now, in terms of a global network, LinkedIn is the only networking site, the only social media presence in China. So we've just localized into simplified Chinese. We've just localized into Arabic. So if you do business with anyone outside of the UK, outside of Europe, APAC, North America, South America, wherever it may be, your potential prospects will be on LinkedIn and can be found. And then finally, knowledge. So we aspire to be the definitive professional publishing platform. And see, these are some of the things that we have done. You may have seen over the course of the past few years, we've added a news aggregation service called Pulse. We have added an influencer program, which I'll speak a bit about later on. So it's helping you as a professional to be better at what you do. We know that all of the world's professionally relevant knowledge resides in our members' heads, and how do we share that information across the network and really add value to our members. So just to drill down specifically into each individual strategic objective. So identity, the professional profile of record. One thing that I wanted to mention as well is that we have moved away from a blank sheet or a sheet of CV, so paper-based, is now you can showcase yourself as a professional on the web. And one interesting story I actually wanted to share is that based on your LinkedIn profile information, people can start coming to you. So if you optimize your profile very, very well, your customers can start searching for you as a professional, and they'll start coming to you. So even from my own perspective, I've been at LinkedIn 3.5 years now. One of my first clients that I was working with was the Irish Stock Exchange, so the Irish equivalent of the FTSE Index. Now, how that conversation started was they inputted the phrase social selling into Google. Obviously, they wanted to take advantage of social media to identify potential new entrepreneurs that are going to float their business and hopefully float it on the Isaac Stock Exchange. And I received an email message into my account because my profile is optimized with the word social selling in different areas of the profile. So the conversation was started from there. It was based on SEO principles. So if you input the words that are important to your business into your profile, you can be found on Google. And typically, when they search for your company or yourself, your name, your LinkedIn presence will be first. As I mentioned, is your professional identity of record. Second thing that I wanted to mention is that not only can you outline your employment history, we've also added a visual element to the profile. And this is one thing that it's very easy to do, and I encourage everyone to do this if you can, if at all possible. So you can upload a YouTube video, you can upload a slide share, or you can upload a JPEG image. So it really is all about personal branding. How are you perceived as an individual? And that's very, very easy to do, and that's free advertising space for you as a professional. Second, spoke a bit about the global nature of LinkedIn as a professional networking site. We mentioned that we've localized into simplified Chinese, localized into Arabic. We now support 20 languages globally. We have offices in 25 different countries. We have presences truly in a global scale. There's 347 million professionals using LinkedIn on a daily basis. We know that the total addressable market of knowledge workers in the world is 600 million, and that there's a global workforce of just over 3.6 billion. So we're just over halfway there in terms of mapping and digitizing all of the world's knowledge workers, and we've a lot more to do. So it's all about connecting all the world's professionals. Not only that, it's about connecting students with potential opportunities, and I'll speak a bit about that later on. So that's important also. Knowledge. So I mentioned a bit about becoming the definitive publishing platform. Through acquisition and organic growth, we have added a lot of elements to the LinkedIn platform that enable you as a professional to become better at what you do. So you may have experience in SlideShare. It's a way that you can share PowerPoint presentations very easily across the web and on your LinkedIn profile. Groups. That's a way of positioning yourself as a thought leader in your particular space. And that's a very fruitful way for you to start engaging in conversations that maybe is not as salesy, but positioning you more as a consultative seller or a thought leader. There's a news aggregation service called Pulse, which I would recommend you guys check out. It is one of the fastest growing drivers of traffic to the LinkedIn site. We are now competing with publishing giants like the New York Times, Business Insider, these sorts of companies based on monthly uniques. We're up at 80 million, I think, as of last month. So it just shows you that all the world's relevant knowledge resides on LinkedIn. And then finally, influencers. So some of you guys may have seen this as well. So we have asked I think it's over 500 of the world's luminaries in business, politics, whatever it may be, to share some of their thoughts around what makes them successful. So you'll have the likes of Richard Branson, you'll have David Cameron, Barack Obama, and many, many more individuals who are sharing content relevant to them, which they can help other people be better at their jobs. We've retained the exclusivity of the influencer program, but everyone else can publish content on LinkedIn in the form of a long-form post. So that's something that I'd very much encourage everyone to do. It's, again, free advertising for you as a professional, and it does help with the virality of the message. Excellent. So, again, to go back to the core value proposition, to connect talent with opportunity at massive scale. So that's on a member perspective. Now, one of our fundamental cultural tenets is members first, and that's the driver of the business. And without any members, there would be no LinkedIn. But we also have to monetize the site. How do we add value to companies, like the companies that you guys run? So we do so in three fundamental ways. We help companies hire, we help companies market, and we help companies sell using LinkedIn. Just want to do a deep dive into each one of these. So on the hiring side, so LinkedIn as a network, as I mentioned, 347 million members. Each one of those individual members has fantastic data set on each of themselves on LinkedIn. We can allow companies, corporate recruiters, to sift through this information and identify individuals based on their set of criteria that they're looking for. So, Java developer based in Birmingham with 10 years experience, you can input that search into LinkedIn and get all those professionally relevant people. That's very powerful stuff. And that has really disrupted the recruitment landscape over the past 5-6 years. And another important note is that typically the recruitment industry would have targeted what are known as active candidates, or people that are actively seeking employment. What LinkedIn has done has allowed recruitment teams to target passive candidates, i.e. people that are not actively seeking work. So they might have a troubling role that they're really struggling to fill. They can use LinkedIn to find information on that person and try and fill that role. And that's very, very important as well. And that's changed the landscape completely. So our goal is to power half of all hires from every single corporate. And I'm sure you guys may have seen through your own LinkedIn profile the targeting criteria. So we can target a job at the right time with the right message to the right person. And that's very powerful stuff, especially to a passive candidate. Secondly, marketing solutions. Our fastest line of business, fastest growing line of business. Marketing solutions covers all of the marketing products that we offer. So that we have a full suite. So we have display, we have banner, we've just launched sponsored updates, and this has been absolutely amazing, not only for our corporate clients, but for our members. And we have just acquired a company called Bizzo, which will, in my opinion, really change the landscape for our marketeer, really shorten the marketing funnel and allow individuals to really get their message to the right person at the right time and nurture them through the sales and marketing funnel. So really effectively engaging with professionals in a very warm fashion. And again, it's all about targeting. So we have so much information on each individual member. As Jennifer was saying, with Facebook, it's very similar, the targeting criteria, but this is in a B2B context. So you can identify that CIO, that CTO, the CEO, with a message that's relevant and targeted to them. That's really powerful stuff. And that's generally been the bugbear of the marketing and the sales industry for the past, 50 to 100 years. And then finally, how do we help companies sell? So we have launched a new line of business quite recently called Sales Solutions to really round out the higher market sell narrative. So what it allows you to do is to find your ideal prospect based on the amazing information that we have and the targeting capability and the search capability. Get very, very granular and very specific. So specificity is one thing that LinkedIn really can add value is that you can get as specific as possible in defining a search that you do and finding the relevant person. You can connect with that person. So for example, you sell to an IT director in a global multinational. You can trawl through the LinkedIn network. You can really slice and dice and find out who are those individuals that you need to speak with. Now you can connect with them. You have full access to their LinkedIn profile. So you can see exactly who they are, who they're connected to, what university that they went to, what they're sharing on the LinkedIn network, their current job title, whatever it may be. So again, allowing a sales professional to lead with insight and really make that conversation meaningful to that person. So really moving away from a broad-based campaign where you try and touch as many people as possible, as spray and pray, to get very, very targeted to that individual and increase the likelihood of that person responding. And because we know that our potential buyers are researching vendors, ourselves, on social media, off social media. Buyers are more empowered, they're more informed than they ever were in the past. They have access to much more information. How do we proactively position ourselves to take advantage of that? And then finally, to engage with that person. So, and Aaron's going to really do a deeper dive into this. Engage with the person in a warmer fashion. So really moving away from the volume-based cold call to a warm introduction. And that's how we facilitate that. So, and that's really the concept that underpins that is the concept of social selling. So using your own existing network to find out where these potential connections exist into your clients. And that's extremely important. And it's what I feel is the low-hanging fruit. So through LinkedIn, you can identify through your collective network, i.e. everyone that works with you within your organization, to find out what's the best connection path into a target organization based on your colleagues or the people that you work with. And that's extremely powerful stuff. So it's all about taking the cold call and turning it into a warm introduction. And Aaron's going to speak a bit more about that and the business environment around it.
Cheers, thanks Aina. So as Aina mentioned, I'm from Birmingham. I actually left 14 years ago as a trainee scaffolder, and now I'm back working for LinkedIn. So I think the theme today is change, and personal transformation is quite a big one for me. So when we look at the 75% of business-to-business purchaser influenced by social, you can look at that anytime you bought a product in the last year or two. If it's a service or a product, you research that person. You might research a company, reviews, because years and years ago, when that happened, it would generally, you would make one phone call and probably rely on that person. So definitely the way it has changed, it's important that you do your homework, research that person to make sure that you're getting a good quality service, whether it's a product or a service. When we look at the buying decisions that are made before the sales rep involvement, it's quite an interesting one, because whether you're in a sales team or a sales leader, to know that when you're offering a service or a product, over 50% of them people have made a decision before they even speak to you. So going back to reaching out to the right people in the right way, it's going to be important, because that can define whether you're successful or not. So going back to how things have changed, definitely now buyers are doing their research. I know for myself, when I'm buying a service or a product, you can bring it back to when you used to buy a TV, maybe 10 years ago. You'd walk into Dixon's, they'd run you through the offers. Now, when I walk in, I want a 50-inch plasma LED. I know what I'm looking for. I don't really need their involvement, but because I've done my homework, and with the 50%, that's, 57%, that's going to be really important. 97% of cold calls don't really work. Before I worked at LinkedIn, I was one of them cold callers, hammering the phone away, trying to offer my services and product. Never really got too much success. I don't know if anyone in the room is still making cold calls. No? A couple? How's that going? Not too well, okay. So with the cold calls, I speak to different organisations on a daily basis. They all give me different percentages on their success rate. Bottom line is, the response rate is getting worse and worse. Nobody likes to make one. I know I don't really like to receive them, but I always kind of entertain it because I was one of them people at the end of the day, so I don't want to be too harsh. But with social selling, it's all about contacting the right people, but contacting them in the right way. So at LinkedIn, what I do is I provide Sales Navigator licenses at scale for small, medium businesses. So Sales Navigator is a separate platform away from free LinkedIn where you can generate a list of prospects. So if I want to speak to sales directors, I can run a search for Sales Directors UK. Within probably 10 seconds, I have every sales director in front of me. So very, very quick and very, very effective. I know when I worked in sales, two things I used to concentrate on: my pipeline and the quality of it, and time. I think if you can focus on them and get them as accurate as you can be, then definitely you're going to have a good chance of succeeding. I think if you don't manage your time and your pipeline is maybe not a list of decision makers, mediocre secretaries and so on who might be in the way of getting to the right person, then it can affect the results that you get. So LinkedIn Sales Navigator defines social selling, who we are. As Aina mentioned, we have 347 million members. So even after this event today, there could be hundreds of thousands of new people, maybe people you want to speak to, probably people we want to speak to. So at that growth, our vision is for everyone, every sales professional and every professional to have a LinkedIn profile. If you hear our CEO, Jeff Weiner, speak, he reckons and estimates in 20 years that will happen. So we're definitely growing at a rapid rate. What to talk about? So one thing I like about Sales Navigator is that when I save people I want to speak to, whether it's sales directors, marketing directors or companies, it creates a newsfeed for me of all their information. So I have around 2,000 connections on LinkedIn. My newsfeed is very, very busy. It's not really relevant to me. Like I'd probably say 3% is relevant. So every time I go back onto it, I press my updates and I lose a lot of information. With Sales Navigator, I only see updates from people I want to speak to. So it could be birthdays, work anniversaries. More importantly, a job change. I recently sold a number of Sales Navigator licenses into a company. That sales director moved to another account, which ironically was one of mine. I reach out to him, congratulations on the new role. He comes back and says, don't worry, I'm talking about Sales Navigator and I'll come back to you. So he's doing all the work for me now. It's easy for me because I can just sit back and wait for the order form. But I never would have knew that information. And they don't know that you have that information. So when you reach out and say, congratulations on the new role or happy birthday, it's more of a personal touch. And when you send an email, if you make it personal, then you're going to get a better response. What I like to do is, because with Sales Navigator, you get visibility to the whole profile, look at where they've worked in the past, look at their interest. For example, I have an account where the marketing director is a Tottenham fan. My name's Aaron Lennon, one of the former footballers. So I say to him, when are you ever going to have the opportunity to have a Spurs player sell you a product? And it might be cheesier, but he comes back to me and it works. So definitely by using the insights to make a personal touch will make a big difference. And how do I get a warm intro? So we have a feature on Sales Navigator which is called Team Link. So if I provide 10 licenses to a company, if anyone with that license is reaching out to a prospect and anyone with that license is connected to them, it will show up so you can be introduced. I don't know if anyone here has done business on the back of a referral, but when you do get introduced, it's really, really easy. I had an introduction last week from one of our managers in our Singapore office to a sales director in the UK. They was in the army together years ago, so really, really easy to break into the conversation. It doesn't really feel like a sales call. It's nice and it's flowing. So definitely it's a really powerful feature because you never know who knows who. And even at LinkedIn, I sit next to Aina. One of my prospects was connected to Aina. Aina had the account last year and he's like, oh, I was talking to Aina. I said, yeah, he sits next to me. He's told me all about your business and what you need. So even with them insights, it's really, really powerful. So mobile. So I think from the Google presentation, we really heard how big mobile is. And I think the image of the camera, the desktop, all being in the mobile phone kind of sums that up. With LinkedIn, it's really important to us. We want to be where our members are. So the LinkedIn traffic from a mobile device has grown from 2% to 48% in the last 2 years. So the amount of members we have kind of gives you an idea of how quick that's growing. Whether it's Recruiter, your LinkedIn free accounts, your post updates, even Sales Navigator is now launched on an app. So I think it was 2-3 days ago, I was stuck in traffic on the way home. I went to my Sales Navigator and I can start flicking through, adding people as leads. It's just a way to kill time for me when I was in traffic. But to have all them functions on mobile, especially if you're in sales and you're on the field, you know, you're out and about, you're not going to miss any updates or any messages. And our vision to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. So Aina's going to drill down a bit more into that. And I'll pass it over to you then, Aina.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Sure it is.
Excellent. So our vision. So what is our true north? What do we aspire to do over the next 10, 20, 50 years? It's neatly summed up in this. So create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. Now, what does that mean? How do we quantify an economic opportunity? What does it look like for different members? So just to, I suppose, drill down and define it a bit more to make sure you understand the concept. So economic opportunity can mean something to someone and something different to someone else. So in this case, the first example, it could be a recently graduated student. He's unemployed, he's looking to find work. LinkedIn can help him identify his new employer, can help the college identify alumni of individuals that have graduated with the same degree as he has, and see where those people are now and give him more guidance around what he should or can do. Secondly, if you're gainfully employed, but you're in a job where you're unsatisfied and unfulfilled, LinkedIn aspires to help you realize your dream job. So find out what is the correct role for you. What do you aspire to do? And then finally, for those individuals that are in their dream job, how do we make them as successful as possible? And how do we allow them to give back to individuals and share their experiences? So, our vision for the next 20 years, the economic graph. Some of you may have heard about Facebook social graph. So, as LinkedIn is more of a B2B professional networking site, we typically position it as plotting the world's first economic graph. A digital representation of the skills, jobs, schools, companies, everywhere in the global workforce. And in doing so, giving people indications of where potential economic opportunities lie globally. So I like to think of it as the plotting of every single member of the professional knowledge workforce, 600 million members, we're just over halfway to that. We've 5 million companies that have a presence on LinkedIn. We aspire to have every single job uploaded to LinkedIn that a company has. The skills, plot those skills, the schools of individuals that have LinkedIn profiles, and then updates. So allowing us to track both human, intellectual, and working capital, and help us to showcase where these skills need to be leveraged in other companies, other countries, where there's maybe a demand and supply shortage. So helping us to really define economic need across every one of our countries that we represent. So that's the ultimate overarching vision of LinkedIn in the next 20 years, is to create that economic graph and help companies really contribute to the economy in that way. So just wanted to go back and really finish off the presentation around some of the things that you can be doing on your own LinkedIn profile. So top 5 tips to really optimize your personal profile. Hopefully you have enough time. So bear with me 1 second. So just to go on to the actual LinkedIn profile itself. So there's a number of different things that you can be doing to really leverage it in a more effective way. So the first thing that I would say is a professional picture is extremely important. Your LinkedIn profile is 7 times more likely to be viewed with a professional picture than one without. And it's natural human nature. We've done studies, we've conducted research with outside vendors, who've done opacity maps on the LinkedIn profile to see what garners your visual attention when you go on someone's profile. And believe it or not, it's not actually the photograph, it is the headline. So the bit of information just underneath my name. Now, that defaults to your current title if you don't edit it. Now, it is editable, that's important. So I have changed mine to a social selling consultant, so helping companies increase sales through relationships and social data. So that's outlining my value proposition as a professional. Not only my job title, but my value proposition. How do I add value to my potential customers? And this is something that I would encourage everyone in this room to do, to have a think about. How you add value to potential customers, stakeholders, internal, external, whatever it may be. And the reason that's so important is that it's very highly weighted when it comes to SEO. So 50% of the SEO of your LinkedIn profile resides in the headline. And I mentioned that the anecdote before about the Irish Stock Exchange proactively coming to me based on my LinkedIn profile information. That was done through the liberal use of the word social selling and prominently in my headline. So the headline is a bit of text underneath your name. It's 140 characters, so you can get as creative as possible in how you outline that. And there's some very good examples across LinkedIn that you may have seen yourself, but that's the first thing that I definitely would emphasize and recommend, is to have a look at that. Have a think about your value proposition, how you add value to potential customers, and input that then. Secondly is the summary section. This is something that's neglected, I think, quite a lot from individuals. They sign up to a LinkedIn profile, they'll have their name, their job title, their industry, and their function, and that's it. Be very skeletal. What we recommend, again, from an SEO standpoint, you can input keywords that people would search your company for within your profile. But again, and Aaron mentioned it before, that relationships matter. And they matter a great deal, especially in a B2B context. So it's very, very important to outline yourself as a professional. People buy from people. They don't buy from machines. People are hired by people. So it's all about outlining yourself as a professional. I like to break it down into 4 separate strands. So the first strand is just a bit about the company that you work for. So the first paragraph is maybe a sentence or 2 about your company, what it does, how you add value to organizations. Secondly, a bit about yourself. So again, as I mentioned, relationships matter. People buy from people. So you can outline yourself as a professional, your work history, your work trajectory. Again, lending credibility and gravitas to you as a professional. That's something that's very, very important as well. So that's the second paragraph. Third paragraph is all about, say, your personal life, if you feel comfortable. I have a bit about, I'm a massive sports fan. So to see that people know that I'm a person. So when I reach out to someone, they have a look at my LinkedIn profile, they'll know there's actually a person behind the profile. That's very, very important as well. And then lastly, and most importantly, is a call to action. So when you start researching people's profiles, depending on your anonymity settings, they can see that you're looking at their profile. It's human nature. People are going to reciprocate. They're going to look at your profile. If there's nothing that's going to harness that potential interest, it's going to be lost. So I have the website, the landing web page of the product that we offer and the service that we offer, slide share landing page of all of the marketing content that LinkedIn has, and then the Twitter handle of LinkedIn. So people who are minded to do so, they can go on and research more about LinkedIn as a business, as an organization. Then, as I mentioned it briefly before, is the visual aspect of the profile. So this appears not only below the summary, but also below your employment history and your university. So you can have a slide share presentation, you can have a YouTube clip of maybe the work that you have done if you're in visual arts or whatever the case may be. You can actually showcase your talents as a professional. That's very, very important. Also, finally, one very, very important aspect of the LinkedIn profile. Again, it's all about your personal brand, your professional brand online. Recommendations. Actually, out of interest, does anyone have recommendations on their LinkedIn profile or have given some? Excellent, good stuff. Good to know. So that's very, very important. So when you have done business successfully with a client, it's very important for you to ask them for a recommendation on your LinkedIn profile. So for the next prospect that's going to be researching your profile, they have something extremely compelling that's going to lend gravitas to yourself and, as an extension, your business